My name is Clara. I am 28 years old, and I live in a quiet neighborhood in Chicago called Ravenswood. It's a peaceful area with tree-lined streets, cozy cafes, and familiar faces. People often tell me I have a lovely life, a devoted husband, a charming apartment, and a steady job managing a local bookstore. But beneath the surface, I carry a deep sadness. Each morning, I wake up with a sense of heaviness I can't shake. A year ago, I made a decision that changed everything. I married a man named Adrian. He is 32, thoughtful, generous, and endlessly patient. But the truth is, I do not love him. I married him not out of passion or affection, but out of grief and desperation. I was trying to move past my ex, Damien, who left my heart in pieces. In the whirlwind of heartache, Adrian appeared like a safe harbor. And when he asked me to marry him, I said yes. I convinced myself that marriage might heal my wounds, that love would bloom in time. But it never did. And now I am the one feeling broken. Adrian, in his unwavering kindness, tries everything to make me happy. He brings home fresh flowers every Friday. He cooks dinner when I'm exhausted. He leaves sweet notes in my lunch bag and calls me my starlight. He greets me each evening with a warm kiss on the forehead. To many, he would seem like the perfect husband. But I find myself aching with guilt, unable to return his love. One evening we sat together on our small balcony. The stars sparkled above us, and the night breeze was soft. Adrian turned to me and said, "Clara, I know you don't love me yet, but I believe you will. I'll wait as long as it takes. My love can carry us both." His words made my heart ache. He was full of hope while I was running on empty. I smiled and nodded, even though I felt like an imposter. My mother once told me, "Clara, love isn't always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it grows in silence. Marriage is about kindness, respect, and commitment." I tried to believe her. I tried to be patient. But the days passed, and I only felt more lost in a life that didn't feel like mine. One Friday evening, Adrian prepared a candlelit dinner. He made my favorite meal, creamy pasta with roasted garlic bread. He played soft jazz in the background and wore the navy shirt I once complimented. He smiled and said, "All of this is for you, Clara." I smiled back, said thank you, and sat across from him, feeling hollow. I couldn't taste the food. I couldn't hear the music. I felt like I was performing a role I hadn't chosen. After dinner, he suggested a walk to the park near our home, the place where he had proposed under an old elm tree. He took my hand and said, "Remember this place. I promise to love you forever." I looked at the tree, then at him, and wanted to scream, "I don't love you, Adrian." But I stayed silent. I couldn't bear to shatter his happiness. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. Would I ever feel whole again? The next morning, my best friend Liana called. Her voice was cheerful, but she sensed something was off. "Clara, are you okay? You sound so tired." I hesitated, then finally admitted, "I don't love Adrian. I married him to escape my pain, but now I feel trapped. I'm not living. I'm pretending." Liana was quiet for a beat. Then she said, "Maybe you need time away. Space can bring clarity." I shook my head. "It's not time I need, Liana. It's truth." Later that day, I sat down beside Adrian on the couch, trying to find the words. "Adrian," I began, "I need to talk to you." But before I could finish, he said, "Please, Clara, don't give up on us. I still believe we can work through this." His eyes were filled with hope, and my guilt deepened. A few days later, he shocked me with a question. "Clara, would you like to have a baby?" I think it could bring us closer. I froze. The idea terrified me. I looked down and whispered, I'm not ready. He nodded, his face quietly falling. That night I wrote in my journal, I feel like I'm drowning in this marriage. Adrian is kind, but I can't be the partner he deserves. I also wrote, sometimes I think of leaving, but fear holds me back. Will people think I'm selfish? Will they say I didn't try? One evening, I packed a small overnight bag. I stood at the door, watching Adrian sleep peacefully. My hand trembled on the doorknob, but I couldn't go through with it. I set the bag down and quietly cried on the floor. The next morning, he brought me coffee and kissed my cheek. Good morning, my love, he said. I believe in us. His hope felt like a weight pressing down on me. I looked out the window. Children played, dogs barked. The sun shone brightly. Life moved on outside, but I felt stuck. Namaratubo. The days blurred together. I worked. I smiled. I came home. But inside, I was fading. One Saturday, Adrian came home early with 2 movie tickets. Let's go out tonight, he said. Just us. Maybe it'll lift your spirits. I agreed. Not because I wanted to go, but because I couldn't bear to disappoint him. That night I wore a dress and put on a smile. At the theatre, Adrian held my hand, laughed at the movie, and glanced at me, hoping for a spark. I tried, but it wasn't real. After the show, he asked, Wasn't that fun? I nodded. Yes, it was nice. But I felt cold. Back at home, we had tea. He wrapped his arm around me and whispered, I miss you, Clara. I couldn't meet his eyes. My silence was a wound between us. The next morning, I met Liana at a cafe by the lake. The wind was sharp and clouds hung low. She looked at me closely. Clara, you don't look well. I confessed everything again. I'm scared to leave. Adrian is good. Everyone will hate me. Liana held my hand and said, You're allowed to choose yourself. Adrian deserves honesty. So do you. That night, as I watched the quiet street from my window, I wondered if others felt the same loneliness I did. Adrian sat beside me and said softly, Clara, you've been so distant. I feel like I'm losing you. I said, I'm just tired. He nodded, his eyes clouded with quiet sorrow. The following week, he planned a weekend trip to Lake Geneva. Maybe the peace will help, he said. I agreed, though my heart wasn't in it. The lake was serene. The air smelled of pine. Adrian booked a lakeside inn. That evening, we walked along the water. He laughed, took pictures, held my hand. Isn't this beautiful? He asked. I nodded, but inside I felt nothing. That night he gave me a necklace with a heart-shaped pendant. This is my heart, he said. Tears welled in my eyes. Thank you, I whispered. While he slept, I sat on the floor, remembering how we met, how kind he was after Damien left. He saved me then, but I never truly loved him. I confused comfort with love. I thought being with someone kind was enough, but it wasn't. When we returned home, I began writing letters to myself, honest letters. One read, Clara, you are not cruel. You made a mistake, but you meant well. You must be brave now. Another said, Adrian is not your home. You can't be what he needs. Liana called again. You sound clearer, she said. I replied, I think I'm ready to tell Adrian the truth. That evening, I made tea and asked Adrian to sit down. My hands shook. Adrian, I need to say something. He looked at me gently. Okay. I care for you. You've been good to me, but I don't love you. I never did. I married you because I was hurt. I hoped love would grow, but it didn't. Adrian sat quietly, his eyes filling. I knew, Clara. I saw it in your eyes. I just didn't want to believe it. I'm so sorry, I said. He nodded. I love you, but I can't do this alone. If your heart isn't here, I won't keep you. His kindness in that moment broke me. We sat in silence, not with anger, but with shared sorrow. That night, I slept on the couch. I stared at the ceiling and whispered. I told the truth. I didn't know what would come next. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. I was finally breathing again. A week later, I moved into a small apartment not far from the bookstore. It was quiet, sparse, and unfamiliar. But it was mine. I cried the first night on the bare mattress, surrounded by unopened boxes. But the tears weren't just grief. They were release. Adrian and I stayed in touch, gently, cautiously. We exchanged a few messages. No bitterness, only kindness. He told me he was seeing a therapist. I told him I had started painting again. Liana came over with plants and takeout, and we sat on the floor, laughing through tears. To new beginnings, she said, raising her cup. I began to find myself again. Not the Clara who smiled to make others comfortable, but the one who asked hard questions and dared to seek joy on her own terms. Some mornings I still wake with heaviness. Healing is not a straight path, but now I sit with my feelings. I write. I walk by the lake. I breathe. I live. And slowly love, real, quiet, blooming from within, returns to me. Not from someone else, but from me.